Hi everyone, I'm so excited to introduce my friend Susan, who is with the Cutler Group. She's a senior management advisor, and today we're going to talk about, again, all divorce. And this all has to do encompassing of the divorce niche, if you will. And I brought her on board to give some wonderful advice. So I'm going to hand it over to her for a moment so she can give a little bit of background about herself.
All right, well, thank you, Katie. Yeah, I have been an advisor, a financial advisor, for over 27 years, specifically here in the Orange County area. So I do have a lot of networks and a lot of people that I've worked with and for, and attorneys and CPAs that I'm very familiar with. So I feel like I have a good grounding and niche here in Orange County. But I'm also a certified financial planner, which is a pretty rigorous designation to achieve. And so I just want to say, if you choose to work with anybody that calls themselves a financial advisor, do make sure they have the CFP designation. I think they would just be in a better position to work with you fiduciary wise. I am a pure fiduciary as well, which means that I don't have any products or services to offer, so that puts me on the same side as a client to find what is in their best interest in working with all sorts of clients as well. I do work with quite a few women, but I have worked with many families as well.
Okay, so we're going to do a fun Q&A session with Susan just to run through the very beginning stages of a consultation and then what it looks like at the tail end. So Susan, let's talk about the initial stages when you're dealing with a new client.
Yeah, and I just want to start off that any advice or anything I say is educational purposes only and cannot be construed as advice. It's just the disclaimer to get out of the way. But when a new client comes on, I sometimes I know a little bit about their situation, sometimes I don't. And so we do generally use about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on their time, to do a discovery call and find out what they're looking to accomplish, if they just kind of need support or they just need full-on, kind of advisory help in formulating a plan toward retirement, or I have things all over the place right now and I just need help consolidating. To, I have a good salary, but I don't know what I should be saving. Where should I put my next best dollar? Should it be going in my 401k? Should I be adding it to an account outside of my retirement plan? They have a family, then that opens up a whole new dynamic of what type of accounts they should probably be looking at. And then, kind of asking them about their big picture. And then for each client, if we're not going to force you to do a financial plan, it is inclusive for many of our clients, but sometimes you want to take a look at if you've done an estate plan. If you have, when was the last time you updated it? You want to take a look at your insurances, meaning do you have enough coverage on your home, on your auto? Is there a term life policy? Is there a whole life policy, an annuity?
I think that's really good that you just said that, because most people think financial advisors is just as simple as, well, let me give you a chunk of my money and then you go invest in all of these things. I don't think everyone is aware of all of the different things that you touch and that you encumber, so you might want to elaborate a little bit on that.
I mean, we have such a long list, and that when I said at the beginning that each client is unique. I mean, not everyone has kids. Not everyone is in that stage. Maybe you're at a later stage. Maybe you work for a company that has stock options, restricted stock options. Maybe you are looking at negotiating a salary, and is it better to do this or do that? We really want to come in alongside someone and be their go-to person to walk through any scenario in their life that might alter anything financial. So if it has to do with money, we want to be talking about it. Should I buy a new home? I have 3 rentals. Should I sell one of my rentals? And we can look further at that analysis to do that. So this kind of goes beyond just investment management. Like I said at the beginning, it is not a requirement to do financial planning, but when I get down the road with clients of a few years, it's clear there's some situations that come up where we need to start looking at this in a deeper level. So.
And I think also when you're dealing with divorce and couples that are splitting and their division of assets and things along those lines, there's usually one of the spouses that doesn't have any knowledge of investing, because usually one is the dominant force, if you will, when it comes to the family finances.
Yeah.
So when it comes to somebody new to this industry, do you have any maybe words of advice that you could offer someone going through that?
I have sat across many couples where one is more dominant in the conversation. I always love when a husband brings along a wife to a meeting, because I want them to feel comfortable in asking questions. But sometimes by the time we're 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, asking the question of what is a Roth IRA or what does that even mean seems like I should know that by now, so I'm not going to ask the question.
Yeah.
So I just want everyone who comes to meet with me to feel like I'm patient, any type of education, and any question, I want to answer for them. So definitely, if there is someone who has had a spouse, it can be, I know many couples where the woman is the primary earner in the relationship as well. But if there's a spouse that doesn't have as much education or even knowledge of where their finances are or what they're doing or how it's looking for them, maybe they don't even know what bank they use, or there's 3 or 4 banks, and why do we have so many? And it's just kind of helping them wherever they're at and digging it down. Why would someone have so many accounts? What is this account? What does this mean?
Right.
So I think I just want to be approachable and helpful in discovering what they're looking to learn. In a divorce situation, it just depends. How much do you know where assets are? I do have a list where we kind of can start from, we need to collect this data and this data and this data, and then come back and we can put together kind of a summary.
That's great. Okay, so how do you tailor investment strategies for clients going through a divorce to ensure financial stability during and after that process?
Yeah, there's so many stages to a divorce. First there could be this stage of finding out you're going through a divorce, something you didn't choose, maybe the other person is pushing a little bit more. So there's a lot of emotional support, I think, that comes at that point, just that, just kind of deal with the emotional and pay attention to that to process everything. And, nothing financially needs to be solved at that moment. But, as you kind of move through the reality that it actually is happening, we do have to look at what the finances look like. That's just going to come up. You're going to have to fill out a form for the courts and for their attorney and your attorney to see how things can be parceled out and to make it as fair and equitable as possible. So at that point, it's more of just data collecting. And like I had mentioned earlier, I have a list of documents that you can start collecting. At that point, you kind of have a choice of, you can work with me as a financial advisor. I am also in the process, and should have completed by June or July, my CDFA, which is a Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. So then I could put on that hat, because you can't do both side by side. One might be impartial to a client, that they've been a client a long time and so on. But with the CDFA, you really have to try to find the best and equitable way. And so sometimes I might keep the financial advisor hat and refer you to a CDFA so I can and do that. But that really is going to be the best solution. Your attorneys are likely not going to go in depth with you on that. They just only have so much time.
I was going to ask you that question because I think a lot of us believe the attorneys pretty much handle everything. You believe when you're going into a divorce situation that you're going to hire an attorney and they're going to just handle everything, and it really doesn't work out that way, right? They handle all of the court and the paperwork and all of that, but when it comes to dividing everything, and then in your case helping the division and helping get organized with all the forms that need to be done, it's like, what's the next phase of that?
Yeah, so either you can choose to kind of get more educated yourself and dive in, or what's really going to happen is that attorney and the spouse's attorney are going to come together and say, if I give you this, I'll give them this, and they're negotiating on your behalf, rather than you saying, having the advice of a financial advisor or a CDFA saying, well, I think this is fair and equitable. So I really encourage my clients to have a place at the table rather than leaning so much on the attorney, and it just makes the attorney's job so much more easier too if you can come in with what this means when they say this word, or what that means when this, and the terms in divorce are sometimes hard to understand, and so lean on your attorney for that. But on the financials, a support team of a financial advisor or a CDFA would be recommended. So we were talking about the stages of divorce. Really, we don't want to be moving around a ton of assets, because that just makes the situation more complex. If someone presents early on in the divorce that an account was at some firm, say Bank of America, and now it's been moved to Wells Fargo, you have to redo forms, and that's going to cost you, more money with the attorney to do things like that. So it's kind of this moratorium on just like holding things where they are, but knowing where things are.
Right.
And
there are control over some of it.
And there are some things that need to be moved around. You probably need to go get your own bank account if you haven't done that already. You probably should go get a credit card in your name. If you haven't done that, one of the best places I suggest is Costco. Just go get a Costco credit card.
Oh, okay.
They're pretty easy to get approved.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a ton of money, but now you're earning your own credit on your own, and there's some expenses maybe you don't want to share with everybody or what have you. So, and then post-divorce, once everything's been settled, and it can be kind of a long road, now we have some work to do. Maybe some assets are being split, and so we have to open some new accounts. Either they're taxable or non-taxable, and we could probably go into that a little bit later. But I guess the point of all of this is you really need someone outside of an attorney to dig down on those numbers.
Right, and really looking for a team of people behind you to help facilitate. Everyone has their specialty that they've gone to school for and have credentials for, and it's nice to have a team of people that can collaborate and work through all of it to make sure that your best interests and your needs are met.
Definitely. Right.
So how do you navigate complex financial or retirement accounts or other shared assets during divorce proceedings?
Yeah, this gets really important to look at. This is why we take a inventory of every account that you have, because what I typically see is that some attorneys are going to expect that you don't know, and that everything is created equal. So if one spouse has a $500,000 401k and there's $500,000 in a trust or a joint account, then hey, he's going to take the $500,000 in the joint account and he'll give you his IRA. Well, that doesn't actually always work out equal, because you got to think about the long term and the road down 20 years, what the taxation of this particular asset is going to look like. That $500,000 401k is going to grow to $1 million. And anytime you take out money from a 401k, it is taxable as ordinary income. If you had a taxable account of $500,000 and it grows to $1 million, well, you're not dealing with ordinary income, you're just dealing with some other tax situations which aren't as hefty as capital gains at 15% and dividends or interest. So you really got to look at how the account is titled and whether it's IRA or not. Also, is it a traditional IRA, 401k, or is it a Roth? Sometimes I'll see negotiations where here you have the traditional and I'll keep the Roth. Well, no, that's not fair either, because the Roth IRA grows tax-free. You never pay taxes on that when you take money out of it later, but you pay taxes on the regular IRA, so that's not fair and equitable either. So all of these things need to be assessed and looked at in the mindset of what are the taxes down the road later with a home. Does someone stay in the home right now for a number of years, and then how do we split the capital gains? Or you take the home and I'll take the cash. Well, that's not fair, because there's capital gains in a home later on down the road as well. And especially you're moving from a married filing joint tax bracket to a single tax bracket, which is not very fair as well.
Right, a lot of things to consider, which is really why having an advisor like yourself is so instrumental, because there are so many caveats and so many unknown things that we don't know, that we really need proper representation to be able to guide us through that. So
there's a way to move the coconuts around and that it's fair, and no one should take all of this or all of this. There's probably a division of assets that can be found to be fair. I will say another thing is, in assets in a divorce when it's brand new, I mean, there is a temporary order that you can file, if you've got to cover all these expenses and you don't have a job and you need to cover these expenses for a time period until you can get before a judge or kind of get to a time where you're talking about the assets. And that should be something that will get you through in the meantime with payments and meeting the living expenses that you have. So I don't know if you want to include that or not. But
I like that.
Just to, at the beginning, make sure you consider having a temporary order to make sure all the expenses are covered.
Again, all of those things that are such a gray area for anyone contemplating, even thinking about going through divorce, right? They just don't know really where to start, or they probably think, again, that they just need a family lawyer to represent them, but there's so many different facets of your financial future that it's really great to be able to hire somebody that will give you the proper guidance. And you said the target word is fair, right? I mean, that's ultimately what anyone going through a divorce really wants, is you just want it to be fair.
You just want it to be fair, as well. So, it's true.
Okay, so what ongoing support do you provide to clients after the divorce process is finalized to ensure their financial well-being for the long term?
So this is probably at the point where there has been a judgment, and so there is a document that spells out how everything needs to be divided, whether there's IRA assets that need to go to the other spouse and be split, which is called a quadro or QDRO, and those documents are things that now you can come back to me as a financial advisor and we take a look at it to make sure and follow that all the funds are moved into the right account. Once those are all moved into the right accounts, I should say plural accounts, we really want to now take care of you. What are your goals? What are you looking to do going forward? Are you going to be getting a job? Or how much are you going to be making? How does that flow into your living expenses and covering those? And then for the long term, how long does this money need to work for? Do you need to access some of it now, or can it grow for 10 plus years? And so we kind of start setting up some individual goals and looking at the long term there. And then each year we revisit that because we do know things change. So we've got to revisit if that's still the goal, or maybe now you've decided to move out of state. Maybe you're buying some real estate, maybe you're selling real estate. Some things are still in motion, but now it's just about the other person post-divorce and what's best for them, and putting a plan together for them.
I love that. So basically this is, as we've said before, all-encompassing. Anyone going through a divorce, there's multiple chapters that you go through, is locating the right family law to represent you. Talking and dealing about your financial steadiness moving forward is so important. I highly recommend Susan from Cutler Investments. As you can tell, she's knowledgeable, has your best interests at heart. And hopefully through this conversation, you've learned something, and it gives you a little bit of peace of mind about your financial status now and your financial future. It's really important to have a pulse on it and have some control over it. And I think with the right representation, you really do come out on top. Any last minute words or anything else that you don't feel like we covered?
I guess I would just say, divorce, if that's the main topic, is really tough. But I've been through a divorce, and Katie has, and here we sit on the other side, and it is something that you will get through, but it does take time. So, having some professionals in your court, and having the right guidance is going to get you to the other side better than just kind of sticking your head in the mud and not doing anything, and we'll always help you get there.
Great. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.